So we're here with Talend. So do you want to explain your role and what it is that Talend do?
So I'm Kieran Dines, I'm VP of Products at Talend. Between me and the team, we're really responsible for leading Talend's product vision and product strategy. What Talend do is big data and cloud integration software, really working with big enterprises to try to make their data flow better within their organization.
So big data is very much an emerging sector. It's people are slowly getting grasp on it, but it's something that really took off primarily with the internet and with sort of the idea that companies like Facebook and Google have all of this information at their disposal. So how are you sort of learning to work with that data?
I think it's interesting when you look at the pioneers, Google, Facebook, even LinkedIn or Netflix, there's all these great examples of companies that really use data to build their businesses. And you can genericize that and look at all types of companies who've been around for many years and really put data to use. One great example we like is General Electric. So if you ever look at GE, their branding, their logo, it all feels kind of old-worldy, but they are anything but old-world. They're super innovative, and as a company, they really have put data and digitization at the heart of everything that they do, so much so that Jeff Immelt, their CEO, he likes to talk about you go to bed as an industrial software company and you wake up the next day as an analytics company.
And what is sort of, are there any specific sort of either companies you work with or any specific scenarios that you sort of where big data is a very core outside of the likes of sort of Facebook and Google, whose business is entirely built on that, where you could sort of, whether it be improving how the business works or just sort of somewhere where people wouldn't expect it to have a major impact?
It's a great question. I mean, you got the classic examples. We're going to speak today with Wejo. And Wejo are this whole new industry around the connected car.
Yeah.
And the connected car at its most basic is just making my life and your life easier.
Yeah.
So one thing that Wejo are looking at the moment in Austria is how do you find car parking spaces? And what they have put in place is an app, and the app basically indicates through a simple color code whether there should be parking on a particular street or not. So how do they do that? Well, you may not be aware, but all of the car manufacturers in Europe must put in a transponder in your car by 2023.
Right.
So the information is actually there, and it's like once the information is there, how do you use it? So there's a whole new breed of companies that are using data to put these types of new innovations completely at the heart of what they do as a company. And Wejo is one of those people we're going to be talking about today.
We've actually got an interview booked with them later today.
Okay, so great. Well, with Steve?
I believe so,
Steve is amazing.
So we might run into you there.
Yeah, sure.
You never know.
Yeah.
And it is very much about integration, because it's all well and good being able to crunch the numbers, but you need to get those numbers from somewhere, right? So who are your sort of largest partners in that situation?
Well, we work very closely, obviously, with customers, but partners bring a lot of big projects to Talend. So we're working with Accenture, we're working with Cognizant. In the UK, we work with a company called Datalytics. And all of these partners work on some of the biggest data projects, and they really dig into the business part of the project. We obviously provide a lot of expertise on the big data. How do you basically make data better? How do you do the integration, the technology part of it? But the partners are essential. They have very long-running relationships. They really understand the vertical, and they really understand the business. So it's a real collaboration. And as I say, Accenture, Cognizant, Datalytics, Virtusa, you name it, we're working with all those big partners in the UK.
You mentioned the quality of data. How difficult is it to make sure that the data you have is relevant data? Because you get to a level where you're not sure where the trend stops and where the outliers start. You get that full spectrum. What's your process in sort of cleansing the data as such?
So Talend are experts in data quality. That's one of the major unique capabilities that we provide on top of big data. So much so that all of our data quality technology now runs on top of Spark. You may have heard of Spark as one of the key technologies and enablers. There are some brilliant examples of where data quality has gone wrong. I'm not sure if you're aware of a small town outside Boston called Waltham. It's kind of a Silicon Valley of the East, and they had an outbreak of leprosy basically some years ago, which you might kind of find kind of strange in the modern world. It turns out that in some of their healthcare providers, they were using an unknown field or an empty field and they were filling in the number 25. And they were using it for a purpose to basically find a location of the individual, not knowing, of course, that when it was centralized, the data basically number 25 in that particular column identified as a tropical disease, which was leprosy. So there are these great examples of where data quality goes wrong. And generally speaking, data quality, I think, it's one of the major barriers to basically making big data work for large companies. And to try to do that at scale is immensely complicated, and that's why people work with Talend, because we have this extreme scale on big data, but we have data quality capabilities on top.
And that becomes an even bigger issue if you have, in that scenario where there's sort of humans entering the information, because you never know what a user can type in. You give them a text box, they'll put anything in that, right? So you have to be able to, you need some form of check in place without also clipping your data.
Exactly. I mean, you do want to have, as best you can, rules about the data and try to enforce those as much as you can, as close to where the human is inputting that data. But you probably have looked at machine learning or heard a lot about artificial intelligence. So we are trying to make the entire data pipeline smarter all of the time, such that when anybody makes a decision, can we basically reuse that rule and have the system itself self-learn? And by doing that, we can basically make it better over time. And I think Google and Facebook and these people, these companies, they're masters at using machine learning for that purpose. And I think what's really incumbent upon Talend right now is to bring that type of machine learning capability so we can automate so much of this data quality problem.
I think the best sort of way of showing that off is if I was to say, or right now, I guarantee your device is just fired, because they use that machine learning of how people say those words, and they put that all into an algorithm to figure out whether or not you're actually going to say that word.
It is interesting that we oftentimes have what we think is the primary purpose, the thing that we're trying to solve, but there is an ulterior motive, not a sinister one, but a one that we can use it for an ulterior purpose. So with Google, why does Google Maps exist? Is it because they want to help people find things, or is it because they want to promote better advertising? And by having more of the world mapped, you can definitely provide a better experience for advertising of businesses.
And it's also interesting because you can go into your history in Google Maps. I'm not sure if you've ever tried this. If you open up Google Maps, you can swipe in from the side, and one of the options is your history. It is terrifying. But they started tracking in mid-2013, I think it is. And you can see a perfect timeline of where you were on any given day or time. They know you better than you know you. It's really, really creepy stuff. If I did just trigger your Google Assistant, you can also go into the history of app, and you can hear me saying the words I said earlier. Not going to say it again. It's a tricky one, that. And they have, even that is fully recorded, complete with a transcript of what it thinks you said, as well as the actual voice clip itself, which they're just feeding into algorithms, just to perfecting, and it's just on a huge scale that most people don't realize.
It is phenomenal. We're working with Air France right now on what we'd call, improving customer experience. And as an airline, I mean, everything about their brand is attached to customer experience and sentiment. And one of the things that really annoys passengers on aircraft is losing your headphones and not having them returned to you. And it really upsets people because you feel like, well, the airline has kept my personal equipment, and they just don't know, who you were, because it's probably a third party that's come and cleaned the plane. So how do you basically improve that experience? And Air France have mastered that problem. And they basically provide real-time information through their staff on the airline to actually return your headphones or whatever you've lost. And it's so effective that they can actually almost show up at your house that night and go, George, I found your headphones, and you may not even realize that you've lost them.
Yeah, which is amazing, because we actually, I lived in Hong Kong for 2 years, and when we flew out, we flew with British Airways, and they lost a suitcase, and we called them up, say, hey, we're missing a suitcase, and they go, oh, really? We didn't even know. And they did some digging, never found it. As far as they're concerned, it was never even in the airport. So it's amazing how sort of you can use that data to really figure out sort of what's going on and get a grasp on real life situations. It's not Google in the cloud doing something obscure. It can be even as much as finding a lost item and getting it to the right person.
Absolutely. And I think there are some other examples where we as Talend are exposed to so many different use cases. We have a very, amazing use case going on at the moment with a company in the States called UNOS. And they're basically looking at patient transplants. Right. How do you quickly locate a patient who is looking for a liver or a kidney, and how do you basically make the best and fastest decision to get that kidney basically delivered to that patient? And it fundamentally relies on the surgeon knowing a lot about you, and then also getting up to the second information about the donor information that comes to them, and then making effectively a swipe choice to say, yes, I will accept that particular kidney and have it shipped to them instantaneously. So I think there's lots of great use cases where we look at customer experience, but some of the best things that we're doing right now really are in the healthcare space. And it is truly basically changing people's lives.
And so if people want to find out more about what you do, about sort of what's going on, contact information, all that, where's the best place for people to go?
Best place is to come to Talend.com. We have over 96 real customer use cases and videos on the website, and you'll hear our customers tell the stories about themselves and how Talend has really helped them solve the problem of big data and cloud.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great event.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.